welcome to the closing session of day one, and it is a true honor and pleasure for me today to welcome Ms. Fleming, Under-Secretary General for Global Communications of United Nations, on this Fireside chat. Welcome, Ms. Fleming.
It's so great to be with you, Feraye.
Thank you so much. I know you have a very busy calendar and schedule, and today is the first day of the general debate, so I would like to thank you once again for making the time, and I just would like to jump onto my questions, if you allow me. We are in the decade of action, and the impact of COVID-19 is inevitable, unfortunately. What are your thoughts, insights on the current circumstances, and what do we need to do to deliver on the decade of action?
Well, yeah, so we were already in a time where we were making a lot of progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, about to launch what we call the Decade of Action, which is the beginning of a 10-year countdown to achieving the benchmarks to reach what we need to reach on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in order to make this world a more just, peaceful, sustainable, equal place. So we were making progress, in some areas, much more progress than others, particularly in eradicating or bringing people out of poverty. But then, COVID-19 hit. And what it did was, it was a big it's a setback. And a setback, sounds like a term that you could use, in business but it's actually in human lives. And it's really, not only it exposed that things are still really bad in terms of inequality, injustice, the digital divide, access to healthcare. But it also, shows, it also made things so much, it exacerbated existing problems. So we're in, unfortunately, a really dramatic situation. And right now we just, though, feel more energized than ever to really, demonstrate the value of the Sustainable Development Goals to getting over this terrible crisis. And as we say, building a better world using the SDGs as a blueprint.
Thank you. Fulfilling the SDGs will also need increased cooperation and multilateralism between states. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has halted, or in some cases reversed this. What messages need to be relayed to governments who are turning down opportunities for collaborating instead of embracing them?
Well, as the Secretary General repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, no one is safe until all of us are safe. And, what we need is not, countries or people going into their shells. Yes, of course, to protect themselves from the virus, but we need to come out of our shells to actually conquer it, because only through global cooperation, global solidarity, are we going to be able to suppress the virus. It doesn't know any borders. Nationalism doesn't really work in fighting it. We need better treatments, diagnostics for everyone, and we need a vaccine that is going to eventually be available when it is one that is discovered that is safe and reliable for everybody, everywhere. No country should say me first with the vaccine. We need to have equal distribution so that we can overcome this together, and then move on to more pressing problems of our world as well.
I cannot agree more, really. While the COVID-19 pandemic has taken away many opportunities and changed the direction of many of the world's activities, including UNGA for the first time in its history, on the other hand, it has arguably spurred new innovations and creative solutions to problems. With this in mind, what new innovations do you see coming, particularly for multilateral organizations like the UN in the coming years?
Well, first of all, I don't think anyone could have imagined that the UN would be working virtually only online. As a manager of lots of staff, it was really an exception that people were given permission to, work from home. It was always kind of just everybody just thought that working together was better. And it is. I mean, I think we all miss it very much. But I think what this has shown us is that there are many ways to achieve what we want to achieve, while, you know, allowing people also to you know, manage their lives. And everybody has different, I think that what this has shown also is that, you know, our lives are not just our workplace. Our lives are our families. Our lives are helping the most vulnerable people around us, because also, you know, we need to take care of our own selves and our own communities. And then we can better, you know, contribute to our workplace, which is the UN. I think we've seen that we can conduct lots of meetings online. We can actually be more sustainable. We can travel less. And I think we can be much more creative about how we present ourselves, because, you know, sometimes the UN was, you know, accused of being a bit of a fortress. You know, it was, if you had the UN badge, you could come in. But now I think we're really, this is an exercise in opening ourselves up to the world, expressing ourselves through this forum, for example, you know, to people around, and actually inviting more participation. So hopefully, you know, we'll have, you know, more conversations, more you know, interactions with civil society, with the public, and we'll be, you know, working on our really important goals together.
And it will be our own pleasure, really, to be able to assist you in these activities. I would like to touch upon your project, Verified. It is one of the most important, I think, points. And it's quite important in the communication, I think, in today's world. And today, Secretary General referred to Verified as well. The aim of Verified is delivering not only trusted information, but also positive stories about the best of humanity. Can you tell us a bit more on this project?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm in charge of communications for the UN. And when COVID-19 hit the world, what was clear to me was that we weren't just dealing with a public health emergency, but we were dealing with a communications emergency as well. Number one, we needed to get trusted information based on science to the people, to the public, where they are and where they receive information. But number two, this is the first global pandemic that in the social media era, which is a good thing on one hand, because you can reach lots of people with good information, but it's a scary thing on the other, because you can reach lots of people with bad information. And there are people who are either deliberately or unwittingly spreading misinformation or disinformation that is actually risking people's lives. Miracle cures, or you know, all kinds of conspiracies that you know, denigrating public health guidance and figures who are actually out there for the greater good. So this is the kind of long backdrop to introduce why we created this initiative called Verified. And Verified is there to really take the good science based information from WHO, from the UN system, from public health agencies, national public health agencies, and packaging it in a way that is accessible to the public who are actually, you know, getting their information on social media. You know, there were lots of studies about, well, there's plenty of information from the UN on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, but the problem is it wasn't very popular. It wasn't very entertaining. And so we've been really trying to repackage it, make that information interesting, accessible, viable, working with the social media platforms to make sure it is reaching people. At the same time, we're trying to give people hope that there are solutions and that there is this global collaboration. So our slogan is science, solutions, and solidarity. And we're hoping it works. It's tough because there is, you know, there is what WHO coined the phrase infodemic out there. That is a proliferation of good information, bad information, all mixed together, and people are very confused. So we are going to continue for as long as needed. And thanks to everyone who's watching for your help. If you want to help us, you can sign up to be an information volunteer on shareverified.com.
Thank you. We really encourage you to for people to sign up verified and be the source of correct information. Correct information is important, of course. Misinformation, disinformation, these are challenging things, but also positive news are quite important as well. How can positive news can encourage people to act on SDGs and become conscious global citizens?
Well, there's a lot of evidence that people are turning away from gloom and doom news coverage. They're just switching off. It's just too much. It's too much to take. So the approach that we're taking at the UN is, not to hide the fact that we're in a very troubled world and that there are millions of suffering people that need our help, but not just to leave people with that depressing information, but to also give them signs that there are solutions, there are ways out, there are blueprints, including through the SDGs, for example, and tell stories about human resilience, so that people feel also a bit inspired, and not just, oh, this is terrible, and just click and switch off, because that's the way people react. So we need people not only to be informed, but also to feel that there is some hope and that they have some agency. There's something they can do.
Yes, great. At a time when trust in traditional media outlets is running low, how does the work of Verified rebuild that trust so that people can be dissuaded from falling for misinformation?
Yeah, well, I think if people do, and they are searching online for trusted information, one of the things that we're also doing under the Verified initiative is we are actually educating people about misinformation and how to spot it. We have a campaign called Pause that is based on our study of behavioral science and why people react to misinformation in an emotive way and feel the impulse to share. And it's very natural. A lot of us feel it. A lot of us do it. We're all want to get out of this pandemic. If somebody offers us a way out, it's very compelling to say, oh, I'm going to share this to my friends. So we're asking people, before you do that, please pause, take care before you share. Look at the source. Where did it come from? If it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And so, providing this kind of, education on misinformation and calling on people to be the kind of digital first responders and to say, actually, I'm not going to share that. And I might even go a step further and try to, clarify or fact check. I think that's really important. And just to note also, we are educating the public, but we are also working with the major internet platforms, social media platforms, and asking them, to work with us in partnership. And they've taken, a number of important steps to, shut down or to debunk or to lower the algorithm around misinformation and bad information. We do think that there's more that could be done, and we're working with them on that.
Speaking about communication, with 2020 now being Decade of Action, what importance does good dynamic communication have in speeding up our progress towards completing the SDGs on time?
Well, again, it's not enough to just inform people. One has to capture people's imagination, and I think that actually the SDGs is an amazing. It used to be the Millennium Development Goals, and there were many, many, many more. Now we have 17 goals. They have beautiful icons. We have gorgeous pins. Look at this, that people are proud to wear. People walk around. I've seen, movie actresses, CEOs, ordinary people, wearing these pins, and they keep them, and they want that, because once you kind of get it, what they stand for, you're like, wow, that I believe in that. That's my religion. And we need people to embrace the SDGs, but we also need them to feel like, well, this isn't somebody else's job only. Actually, everybody can take a part, and there's probably an issue within the SDGs that you yourself are very passionate about, whether it is climate action or poverty, alleviating poverty, or helping women and girls, education. There's our environment. There are many areas that we like to try to say everybody can make a difference. If everybody pitched in, we would be on track to reaching the global goals in 10 years.
Yes, it's amazing. I'm a very passionate answer, to be honest. You were the head of communications of UNHCR prior, and there is a negative narrative around refugees, not only in the news, but also in the perception. It was part of this morning's session as well, leaving no one behind. How can we ensure we leave no one behind and change the narrative about refugees?
To be honest, it's really hard for me to understand, having met so many refugees in my 10 years at UNHCR, and finding some of the most, amazing people I have ever met, the most resilient people. Every time I was like, I cannot believe you survived that. I cannot believe you survived that, and you're smiling. You've picked up the pieces of your life. We're all the same, and I feel very lucky that I'm not trapped in a war zone. And there are people your neighboring country, I think you're from Turkey, and Turkey has taken in the most refugees of anyone. Syria is a country I visited many times before the war, during the war, and nobody wanted to be a refugee. Nobody wants to be a refugee. So I think it's our duty to understand fundamentally that this is not voluntary, and that these are human beings who need us to know their story, to understand their plight, and to my phone is ringing. And to really just to help them to pick up the pieces of their life. That's all they're asking.
Yes, thanks so much. I have one question now picked up from the audience. As we have time, I'm checking the time to be mindful as well. I would like to address that question to you, if you don't mind. Quoting UN Secretary General's opening address today, "In a world turned upside down, the General Assembly Hall is among the strangest sights of all. How does it feel to have the historic 75th anniversary in such atmosphere? And what do you think the future looks like?"
Yeah, I was in that hall this morning, and it was surreal, because I've been in that hall many times during the General Assembly, when it's standing room only, and it's packed with delegates and with all kinds of people tuning in and standing around, standing room only, lots of energy. It's a sign of our times. The Secretary General said in his speech to the General Assembly that this is our 1945 moment. 75 years after our creation, born out of the rubble of World War II, we're now facing the biggest global crisis in our 75-year history, and that means in global history. So this is the setting, and the setting maybe was telling and maybe was appropriate for what we're facing now. It was a reminder that the world is not as it was. The world is in crisis, and we've been brought to our knees by a microscopic virus. And we know how to protect ourselves to a certain extent. We're finding ways, to emerge out of this. And I think the big message from today was we need multilateralism. We need global collaboration. Otherwise, we're not going to get out of this, by just trying to protect ourselves. We need to work together.
Ms. Fleming, thank you so much for your time today, and I think our audience benefited a lot from this insightful conversation. But my last question to you would be, what will be your concluding remarks and messages to the audience?
Well, again, I don't despair, I guess, is the message. There's a lot that each and every one of us can do. There is hope. I think I have to say that I got a lot of inspiration from all of the solidarity and the humanity that I was seeing. These, amazing stories of people coming together, helping each other. I think that we've all seen the value of humanity, of human life, of our loved ones, and how precious our earth is, and health. And I think if we hold this all as valuable as we've now seen it, and have that in our memory, we can go forward and build a much healthier, much more sustainable world.
Thank you so much once again. I would like to thank Ms. Fleming for joining us today, and I would like to thank you all for being part of this action today. We close the day here, and look forward to welcoming you all back tomorrow, 9 a.m. US time, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.